Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the WADcast. It's Groundhog Day
Again.
again. You might not
Oh,
believe this, but
man.
this is the 37th time I've done this episode, and it never turns out good.
You're only at 37?
Yeah.
Oh, newbie. Okay. Well, no, happy Friday, everyone. It's great to be back. Josh over there, one of your co-hosts, and then there's me, the other co-host, Brandon. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you guys had a great week. Happy Groundhog Day to everyone. Not that it matters to people that live in Florida or California, Southern California, because we don't really deal with the snow that some people like myself absolutely loathe being surrounded
And I
by.
love.
I hate the snow so much. I did my time in it. I dealt with blizzards. I dealt with shoveling this driveways. I dealt with everything. I even one time before I moved to California from Jacksonville, Florida, I stayed with a friend, my best friend since like third grade, Steve and his wife Danielle. And at the time, they're 4 kids. And I decided to wait before I moved away from Florida to go to New Jersey to live with them to hold off on the snow season, right? I get there, I'm like, oh yeah, it feels really good outside. I have Florida attire. I have a pair of jeans, a pair of tennis shoes, and a hoodie, and a bunch of t-shirts. That's I don't really have a whole lot, like shorts and everything else, like beach attire. I go up there and it just dumps snow. Like a week in my being there, just like a massive, like just like a blizzard level status. Like, snow is like yay high to my chest and everything. I was so pissed off. But the people that live in places like Pennsylvania, where, say, Groundhog Day, the movie takes place, a lot of you guys kind of like bank for the Groundhog Day tradition for some reason, hoping that if he sees a shadow, it'll go one way, and if he doesn't see a shadow, it'll go another way. And that's just, I never really got it. But the movie was great, which is the basis of our show, being that it is, in fact, Groundhog Day today. So something I was not aware of because I have not had time to pay attention to certain days and traditions because of my work schedule, but Josh reminded me of earlier this week. Now we both watched this. Well, I'm sorry, you watched the movie. I watched updates on the movie.
I did my homework.
I did my Cliff Note homework. It's like being back in high school all over again. So thank you for that, Josh. There's a reason why I graduated with like barely a 3-point GPA. But the movie is actually a brilliant movie. It's written and directed by Harold Ramis. Bill Murray had a large part of the production process. And this is also the movie that split them in their creative processes altogether, where they didn't talk again till Harold Ramis was on his deathbed, I believe. And Bill Murray went to go visit him, and at that time, Harold Ramis already lost his ability to speak, if I remember right. If I remember reading that right, but they made amends, I suppose. And now we have Bill Murray in 2 extra Ghostbusters movies, and this is a man that's not known for doing sequels or follow-ups to movies, and he's doing it largely out of love for Harold Ramis and the late and always great Ivan Reitman. But Groundhog Day, I think next to right next to as good as it gets, I think, and analyze this rather, are some of Harold Ramis's masterpieces in filmmaking. But yeah, like I don't really know. Like, how would you want to really start this conversation about the movie? Like, how are we? Like, are we breaking down the movie, or are we just discussing what we thought of it, what we took away from it?
No, we're going to break down the movie, talk about the plot, run through it, and then we'll give our thoughts. I'll scatter in a few fun facts, if you will, and that's the episode. We're dedicating it to Groundhog Day.
Okay.
The movie.
Gotcha.
So you ready to get things started?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk. I would love this movie. I've seen it numerous times. Again, big fan of Harold Ramis's work. If you guys are not aware of him outside of his acting, his directorship was insanely talented. This is a guy that directed some of my all-time favorite movies. Again, with Groundhog Day and As Good as It Gets, and also analyzed this right there at the top of my list, of some of my favorite movies ever made. These are all his movies. And this is, of course, if you don't know what he looks like, for anyone that's not familiar with film and you don't really know who Harold Ramis is, Harold Ramis played Egon in Ghostbusters. He played the best friend in Stripes. He's played numerous roles in Hollywood. He played Seth Rogen's father in I believe it was a cutscene in the director's cut of Knocked Up. But he was the doctor in As Good as It Gets. He was also the doctor in Groundhog Day. And he was a doctor in Ghostbusters, Dr. Spangler. But yeah. So I'll let you get started. Like, what did you take away from this movie? How would you want to set this up?
I literally just explained it.
Well, I know what you explained. How would you like to get started with this? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, I explained all of it.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not married. We're not married. Josh and I are not dating.
And at this rate,
you know what? At this rate, we will not be, Josh. I want you to let that sink in.
Due to my decision.
I hope you understand.
You don't listen.
The divide that you are causing in this relationship. You just scowl at me, woman. I'm sorry. I love you, Josh. I love you.
I can fix him.
I can fix him.
So, as you said before, Groundhog Day, 1993, starring Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and someone that doesn't get nearly enough credit for his contributions to comedy, Chris Elliott. Very funny man.
Brilliant man. Brilliant writer. But yeah.
It was directed by Harold Ramis, written by not Harold Ramis. And yeah. It was written by Danny Rubin.
That's right. It was Danny Rubin. Okay. I did say written and directed by, didn't I? Okay. Mr. Rubin, I'm sorry if you ever stumble upon our little podcast here. I do apologize for that. It's been a long week. No, that is right. And he's written, Danny Rubin's written some amazing things as well. He's had quite a few. I'm just saying, Harold Ramis is just that prolific a director that even with a screenplay, no matter of any kind, like Ghostbusters, going back to Ghostbusters, man. Dan Aykroyd penned the original draft, and it did not become Ghostbusters until Harold Ramis touched it.
And that's kind of the way Groundhog Day worked.
Yeah.
During the initial selling phase, there was an option to go with an independent studio that would allow him to regain creative control of the film, or go a bigger sort of studio direction and have Harold Ramis kind of take the helm. And that's what it wound up being at the end. Harold Ramis had a major hand, major guiding force in the rewrites to bring it to life, including changing the ending, because the original ending was supposed to be she rejects him and then winds up starting her own time loop.
Yep. Yeah.
And also, from what I read, the studio was very insistent on at least there being an explanation for why this is happening.
Oh, yeah. Harold Ramis was absolutely adamant that doesn't need one.
He would give them something and then not even think about it again because of, like you said, he had no intention of explaining this.
And then you had the whole thing with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis when they're making it, because Bill Murray wanted to be more of, I want to say, philosophical than what it was. And Harold Ramis looked at it as like a straightforward story, like a comedy drama, but about growth. But Bill Murray wanted to be like much more in depth than what was meant to be. But before we break this down, can I actually like mention what I love about this movie? The thing that I've always really enjoyed about this is honestly the growth. Honestly, this movie is one of the greatest examples of the journey of the protagonist, because let me at least like, we're going to break this movie down, but I'll give you like the cliff notes of this whole thing with the movie. And this is with me having watched it just, I want to say 3 weeks ago. I watched this movie like in its entirety. I just recently watched it for like the umpteenth time, but today I just had to freshen up a few things. But you have Bill Murray, who plays a weatherman in a no-named television studio, like a small studio in Pennsylvania somewhere, like in East Bumble. And
Channel 6 in Pittsburgh.
He looks at himself as this celebrity. He's popular around where he is, but he looks at himself as a celebrity. He refers to himself as the talent in this movie. At one point, they even make fun of him, like like Andy McDowell and Chris Elliott make fun of him when he says that. Where she's like, did he just refer to himself as the talent? Chris Elliott's like, yep, like whatever, right? But he's this character that the only thing he loves is himself. That's all he has in his life. He just loves himself. He despises pretty much everyone else. He just loves himself. And it's a character that has this need, and he's like kind of like I guess kind of annoyed by, but also this at the same time smitten by Andy McDowell's character. If right, he's smitten by her, but he's also annoyed by her. Like he doesn't like how chipper she is and how upbeat she is. He can't stand Chris Elliott. So this whole movie, you have this character that loves himself so much, and there's different stages of the development of this character. So at first, like he's just annoyed, like this, he's confused by this movie repeating itself. Then he goes into pretty much just abusing everything of his power, like abusing his power and knowing, like like just like giving people hell. And then he goes from there where he's exhausted, like he is trying to pursue Andy McDowell, and then he's exhausted where he starts trying to end it by killing himself, until he starts realizing that he's more happy being more selfless than he is being more selfish. And that's where the character really starts growing in this movie. And the way that they did this progression in this movie, I loved all of it. I think it's one of the most perfectly written movies ever made. Most perfectly written movie. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Most perfectly produced movie ever made. Like throughout the whole production process, I think the way that Harold Ramis took the helm with Danny Rubin, I think the way that these guys got the story onto the screen and the story that is shown to us in this, what came out, I think is such one of the most perfect movies I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah. But how do you want to go about the breakdown? I'll let you get started with this one, because I know I kind of touched on a few points here, but there's so much more depth that goes into it.
Why do I have to keep telling you what we're going to do?
You're not telling me what we're going to do. I'm asking how we're going to do it.
I've said twice now. We're going to break it down.
I asked how
you got the synopsis.
Okay.
Read it.
Oh, you're going to read someone else's work. Okay. Sorry. Josh did his homework, and by him doing his homework, he means that he read someone else's homework. Josh, go ahead. I'll wait.
No.
So we're both back in high school.
Except I did the assignment.
Okay. Go ahead, man. What's up?
Well, first of all, no, he was not a weatherman for some small town in the middle of nowhere.
He had aspirations to be more famous.
Yes.
He was waiting for a job offer from a bigger studio.
And anywhere he would have to be a weatherman.
Yes. He built this idea and this like goal for himself that was pretty much out of his league for who he was as a person.
But He was the lead weather guy in Pittsburgh. It's pretty good sized town. What do you say?
But he wasn't still that famous. So I live in Los Angeles, man. I can tell you the weather people out here. There's like a few big stations. I couldn't tell you anything about any of the weather people out here.
1993, maybe you could.
Probably.
Especially here, where you see a local anchorman and it's a big deal. After all, Jacksonville's not known for celebrity sightings, right?
No, it's not. But at the same time, though, it's like well, I guess Jacksonville. They kind of like look at like the news anchors as like the local celebrities, and they have the ego to go with it. Cracks me up.
I'd say Pittsburgh is very much in the same vein. Where it's small town. Well, I don't want to say small town because that's Duval. With big city aspirations. It's you know what? Just the plot of the movie. And we open up February 1st. And Phil Connors is giving the weather. By the way, what did you think about Bill Murray's weather report at the opening?
I think it sounded like he was like pretty much completely. I thought it was hysterical. I think it's hysterical how he used like the screen behind him to like just like make his jokes and everything else. So it's like his delivery on things. I think it was hysterical. You could tell he was just burnt out. He didn't want to be there.
I think that's exactly the way it came across.
Like that's it. Like it showed like he was just a disgruntled employee for a company he had no desire to work for.
Where it seemed like he was trying to have fun with it, but it just not that he wanted to have fun, but he wanted to look like he was trying to have fun.
That's pretty much shit. Like, I mean, it's like I've always loved the scene where you have like the clouds and the radar, and it's like the repeated like loop that they show, and you have Bill Murray, like the whole clouds, like just like I thought that was hysterical when I was a kid, and it's still funny as an adult. But what's more funny is just how burnt out he is by that job. Like he doesn't want to be there anymore. Again, that goes back to his aspirations of like working at a bigger studio somewhere else, like as something else. He doesn't want to do this job.
And later on, he says, that he's waiting for, his a bigger something. I don't remember exactly.
He's got a bigger company, pretty much trying to get him on board or something. He's waiting to hear back from a bigger
shopping
studio.
Network.
I forget what it was. It was a bigger studio.
Yeah, Chris Elliott was like, it's the Home Shopping Network, something like that. that's the bigger thing.
But yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I thought that his opening part of the movie where he's discussing that, I thought that was great. I thought it was hysterical. About his Bill Murray, you cannot go wrong with a good dose of Bill Murray movies, because his delivery with what he's given the script is amazing. And so Phil in this movie was just, I mean, the entire time Bill Murray's playing Phil, it's just absolutely hysterical. Which is what makes the movie even better, being that like Puxatawny Phil is like, shares that name. So, but go ahead.
Hey, your name's Phil, like the groundhog.
Again, I gotta go back to Phil. Ned.
We'll get there.
I know. I just love that scene so much.
Around this time, he meets his new producer, Rita Hanson, played by Andy McDowell, and cameraman Larry, played by Chris Elliott. And they all travel to Puxatawny. Fun fact, it was not filmed in Puxatawny.
Movies are rarely ever filmed where they are set to be located, aside from if it's in Los Angeles and I can actually spot the street. But where was it filmed, Josh?
It was filmed I know it was in Illinois, about 50 miles away from where Bill Murray grew up.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact.
Also, another fun fact.
Woodstock, Illinois.
Another fun fact. Did you know that The Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies were not filmed in Gotham City.
Yeah, they were.
No, they were not.
Yeah,
Dark Knight Rises was largely filmed. No, they were not. They're an amalgamation of different cities. They went to different cities to film things to make a Gotham City. But did you know that The Dark Knight Rises, the football thing, that was filmed in Pittsburgh?
That's where this movie opens up.
They're connected. Same universe. We just made a connection.
Gasp.
So, anyway, go ahead. What were we saying?
So then they get on to, road. They go to Puxatawny. Phil wakes up the next morning, does the thing that you're going to see a whole bunch of times. The innkeeper, I guess, is asking about the weather. Then he's like,
I love his sarcastic answer to her about everything.
Did you really want to talk about the weather, or were you just being nice? I was just being nice. Okay.
I just like how he's talking about the cold fronts and everything else like a weatherman.
That little running gag where he's like, but the moisture is going to be moving.
Yeah, I love the running gag of the cold shower. Like,
do you have any hot water? Oh, goodness, no, not this time of year.
He's like, oh, of course not. No, of course.
So he makes his way downtown where he, just enjoys his stroll, runs into
Ned Ryerson. Ned Ryerson.
Phil?
Phil? It's
Connors?
me! Ned!
I dated your sister in high school. I sell life insurance. Yeah.
No. Here's the best part, because mind you, this guy, like, these guys are like in this movie, they're in their 40s, right, Josh? They're in their 40s, and you have Ned when he introduces himself, like, it's me, Ned Ryerson, but there's no hair. He's bald as shit. Like, it's like,
yeah.
And every time he lifts his hat up, like, it's like, hey, you're missing.
You remember me,
had.
And
then, like, just you can tell like Phil hates him, because even like when he steps over, like walks away from me, he steps into that giant like ice-filled puddle. And it's like, ooh, watch that first step. It's a doozy. Like, just, or like the whole, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just, But
he's every time you run into someone from high school and they're just annoying.
I have a few like that, actually. There's quite a few people in high school I could not stand. And in the times I've been in New Jersey, there's been a few times where I would go out to like grab a drink at a bar or just go get food. I love hanging out with me. I love being by myself. I'd have someone that would recognize me. Brandon, it's me. And it's like, just, I saw you. I just didn't say hi because, I just still don't like your existence.
It's like, I remember watching Jersey Shore. We don't need to catch up.
Yeah. There's no need to. If I didn't talk to you in high school, I don't need to talk to you as an adult. Like,
although,
don't force it.
If you went to high school with me, hey, how's it going? It's me, Josh. Josh?
Who?
No, nothing. Okay.
Oh, Christ.
So he makes his way downtown, walking fast, stepping in puddles. Does his whole shtick, angers pretty much everybody because he hates being there. Tries to rush them out of town.
He goes to their hometown, he just talks shit the entire time about that hometown.
I hate you all. This is pretty much what it
it's so
boils
great.
down to.
It's so great. Oh, God.
And that's when we come across the first obstacle, and that is there's a blizzard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. So one of my favorite lines in that movie is actually during that blizzard when they wrap up after the Groundhog Day and they're leaving. You know, you have the cop. He was like, roads are closed. It's a blizzard. You can either go that way and freeze, or no, so you can either go back to town, or you can go this way and freeze. And yeah, Bill Murray's like, I'm thinking.
That's straight out of a Jack Benny routine, by the way, in case you didn't know.
I did not know that. That's great.
There was a for those of you that don't know, there was a routine way back when on radio days where Jack Benny, a notorious cheapskate, and that's the character he was, gets mugged. He gets mugged, and the robber goes up to him and says,
"Oh my God, you're right. You're right.
Your money or your life." And then there's this huge pregnant pause, and then the mugger's like, "I said your money or your life," and Jack's like, "I'm thinking."
I forgot all about that. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, you went back to like the 1940s with that one, I think, right?
Yeah. Jack Benny's my favorite comedian of all time.
No, he was hysterical. I forgot all about that skit. I heard that before, like years ago. Shit, you're right. But it's like just like that line when he says, "I'm thinking," like it's that pause. He's covered in snow. He's got like ice on his hair and everything else. He's just rocking like a button-down shirt, no jacket. He's freezing his ass off. He's like, "I'm thinking."
Yeah, and it's that kind of one. When it comes to comedy, you take notes, people. When it comes to comedy, you have to give a joke room to breathe.
Yeah.
And what Bill Murray did there after the cop's like, "You can go back to Puxatawny, or you can go that way and die." Looks around, looks at the accident up ahead, looks back at the van, looks back at the accident, gives a little like, "I'm thinking."
Oh God, it's such a great scene.
And then we cut, back to they're there again, where he wakes up in the same bed at the same time with Sonny and Cher playing.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I got you, babe. Begun. That's right. That's right. He wakes up. He's confused and everything else because it's like this is the day 2 of this time loop, and so he's like obviously very taken aback by this. And he steps out and it's the exact same conversations. The shower is the same because he's a slow learner. So he gets in the shower. It's cold water. Which, first off, why do they do that in movies, Josh? Who the hell gets into a shower and then turns it on?
I don't know.
Like
I'll let it go for like half an hour.
You see that movies. You see that in movies all the time, though. You see that in movies where it's like they just go stand in the shower, turn it on. Like, oh, it's so refreshing. Like, well, no, it's cold. The water heater's got to get caught up with like it's got to go through a gas line and then get filtered through the water heater and then get brought through a separate pipe. It takes time. So every time I see it in a movie, it just drives me crazy. Like and it's not just because my father's a plumber. It's because or has been a plumber my entire life. It's because it's like I can't think of a single time where I'm like, oh, I'm just getting the shower and turn it on now and just deal with the shrinkage that comes with being a man in cold water and cold air. Just it's very emasculating, ladies. But it's one of those deals where it's just like it drives me crazy seeing that in movies. But so he does it a second time around. He gets in there, it's like and he's shocked because it's cold water. It's like, well, no, it's cold water because you just jumped in the shower and then you turned it on. Let it warm up.
Well, they don't have hot water this time of year.
Well, yeah, I know that now. I'm just saying, it's like, I'm sorry, like he knew that after the shower. I'm just saying, it's like pouring water in a pan or in a pot and dumping pasta in there and then turning on the flame and be like, why isn't it, done yet?
Same concept. Get it. Cold waters are freaky, expecting hot. Those were words, kind of.
Those were, yeah. That was an amalgamation of a whole bunch of what the effery. I gotta say my F word.
So yeah, this is the second day of the time loop. He's like haven't I done this before? This is weird. This all seems like it's happened. That and he's not quite understanding exactly what's going on.
Yeah, he meets up with Rita and Sam, right? Sam?
Larry?
Larry, who the fuck? Okay, that was my own per episode. Shit. Okay, he meets up with Larry and Rita down there at the town center for Groundhog Day, and he's like, "Oh, we just did this yesterday," and they're looking like he's crazy.
I love the little quips of, hey, it's Groundhog Day. He's like, yeah, that still happens only once a year, right?
And that's where you get the lines like, "It's Groundhog Day again." But yeah, it's yeah,
it's not until he goes back to sleep, gets up the next day, and realizes, wait a second, I know I've done this twice now, and all bets are kind of off as he tries to convince Rita that he's living the same day over and over.
Yeah.
And then she sends him to the neurologist. And
Harold Ramis.
It's Harold Ramis. Director cameo.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of which, another casting note you might have seen, might not have seen. The actor who plays Buster Green, the guy that presides over the Groundhog festivities, that is Brian Doyle Murray. If the name Murray sounds familiar.
Older brother.
Bill Murray's brother.
Yep. His older brother.
Nepo baby.
Also co-owner of the Caddy Shack in St. Augustine, Florida. If you guys ever want to go get some delicious food, go to Caddy Shack.
I'm pretty sure that's closed down.
What?
Yeah, they took away the World Golf Village.
Shit, dude. I love the Caddy Shack. Oh, that sucks.
I don't know for sure if it's closed down.
All right, Google.
To the Googles.
Because when I come back out there in a few, like in the next a month and a half, 2 months, I really intend to get a fucking. Oh, God, I'm close.
Okay,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and get on with
Caddy Shack. I guess it is still open.
Yes, it is. Don't scare me like that, dude.
Well, I know the World Golf Village is gone.
Okay, yeah, it opens at 11:30 p.m. 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of my favorite restaurants in the world, and Josh has scared the hell out of me.
I do that from time to time.
I know you do. You really do. You do a good job of it, too. It's very rare for anyone to do it, and you do it all the goddamn always. So go ahead. What were we saying?
So Phil decides to get drunk with Gus and Ralph.
Yeah.
And once, Gus and Ralph realize they're too drunk to drive, they're like, well, let Phil drive.
That's on the train.
And that's where we get the, he gets the realization. He asked them, what would you do if there's no tomorrow? And they said, well, you can do whatever you want. He's like, yeah, you could. They always tell you, be nice to your sister. Don't play ball in the house. And a few other things. And he's like, oh, yeah. And don't drive on the train tracks. And I think it's Gus is like, I kind of actually agree with that one. So they're in this high-speed police pursuit, going through town, driving on the train tracks.
Oh, God.
I swear, though, that cop was right behind them on the tracks, right?
Yeah.
And they swerved just in time to not get hit by a train. Did they kill cops? Is that what happened?
I wouldn't doubt it, but I would not doubt it whatsoever. I'd have to go back and watch that one.
That they don't show the cop car again, and they seem pretty ticked off. So when they finally get caught, Phil's like, "Let me handle this." Hey, officer, can I get a burger and some fries and maybe a shake, some flapjacks? Is it too early for flapjacks?
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about that movie, because when he first realizes there's a time loop and that there's no consequences, he starts Like, doesn't he even like rob somebody at some point? Like he does, like he commits robberies. He like gets into one night stands with women. He just
Yep.
abuses this knowledge of everything that happens throughout the day in this little section of this town. He uses every single ounce of his knowledge from like day in, day out, all the way until he falls asleep, or until he dies or whatever. He has every ounce of knowledge of every single thing in this town. As each day progresses, he learns more and more and more, and he just abuses it like a little kid with like being told there's no bedtime. He just does what he wants to do because he knows he's going to wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But like
no consequences.
Yeah, none. Just for his own selfish advantage. Like I always love that. Like just and how it starts with that as his immediate go-to as a guy that's completely in love and enthralled with himself. Just I hate everything. So now I'm just going to raise havoc for weeks or years, depending on how you look at it. Probably, I'd say more like weeks, really. Maybe like a year or two that he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. But
possibly.
If you wake up and you get yourself killed by if you wake up like 6 a.m., you get yourself killed by 8 a.m., then obviously you can only have 2 hours of fun. Might as well do it again. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
I would.
Yeah. Well, we can get to that a little bit later. Right now, we're at the point in the movie where he, for some reason, decides that he should focus his time, his efforts on seducing his producer.
Oh, yeah, Rita. Yeah.
Now,
young Andy McDowell.
Why do you think it became his goal?
Self-gratification? I don't know.
Just so he could?
Bragging rights to know that he had a chance?
Maybe knowing that he only had one day, he saw it as like a challenge?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Like I said, self-gratification or knowing that he could do it. But it's like then you go through the just quick little cuts of him getting. At first, it goes okay, then it falls apart. Then it goes really well. Then it falls apart. Then it goes really bad, and then it goes to like a few instances of where he's getting slapped in the face, and that really over the top snowball fight with those kids. And it's like that.
Yeah. I adopt you.
I love kids. I love kids. Are any of you up for adoption? And like, just that's stupid. Like, he like laying on the stone. He's like just like scooting closer to her, and then it goes to the whole like bit of him getting slapped repeatedly over different nights and different situations where nothing changes.
Yeah, because it seems like he's getting more impatient.
Yeah,
as time goes on. No, like the more he learns about her, and the harder he tries, the more frustrating it is that he seems to get even less further along.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But do you think there was any part of him that thought that she was the key to ending the time loop, or do you think it was just?
I think it was boredom. At first, okay. I mean, I think he had interest in her, but he didn't really see her as anything more than somebody he's like. I think, like I said, I think he was annoyed by and smitten with her from the get-go. I think he actually like thought she was cute and charming and everything else, because he does kind of flirt with her a little bit, like through his own little harsh, like just joking in the very opening of the movie. And he even notices her like when she's at the studio in the beginning of the movie, when she's got like the like the blue sweater and it's blending it with like the blue screen behind her, and it's like just her and like her hands, and she's having a good time. He kind of like notices that
goofy goof.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you can tell he like you think she's kind of cute, like how she does that kind of stuff. You can be like the most stuck up asshole of a guy in the world, but if some girl's doing something cute, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, that's actually adorable. Like, it's all of us. Sorry, guys, to spoil your secrets. It's how we work, ladies.
Yeah, do something cute, like dorky, and you'll have us hooked.
Yeah, it's endearing. It really is endearing. So it doesn't take much. And so I think she kind of had him hooked, but he was also stressed between the repeated days and everything else, where he started paying more attention to the fact that she's doing the same thing. She's here too, so might as well take this opportunity. Because he still went through some things before he started being more selfless with himself.
Yeah.
The
homeless guy, a great example of that.
Oh yeah. Like, I love that one scene. It's like, hey, do you have done? He's like, just like, and just keeps walking. Like, just not even trying to help the guy at all at first. Just walks right past him, acts like he's just patting down his pockets for anything.
And then eventually, he actually, he stops and pulls out this wad of cash and it looks like he's going to count them off a few and then just like, hands him the whole wad of cash.
Hands
him
the wad of cash. Tries to save the guy's life because he sees him pretty much dead in the gutter. Then he also realized, like, then he takes the guy out for supper.
Mm-hmm.
To find the guy still dies. Like, there's no saving this guy. It's going to end the same way with this one person. This person is going to die at the end of this day every single day. This is Phil is repeating this day. This guy is repeating his last day on Earth. So I think like that's why, like, when he takes him out to dinner, like, he just takes him out knowing that this guy is going to pass away. But yeah, like, I mean, he starts being more selfless with his stuff, though, like with his time, with his attention, with everything else. Yeah, it's like, I mean, he slowly starts growing to be more than what he was. Because, like, I look at this, like, if you're okay, like with me, I have my quirks, but I'm moody. I'm a very moody person. I think if I were, I know, right? You've known me for years, man. I can be a sweet person. I can be very endearing, or I can be an asshole, like an ungodly level.
Can confirm.
I try hard not to be the latter of those two options, but it happens. It is ingrained in my personality. But if I was stuck in like a time loop for decades, I think, you and I spoke about this yesterday morning, I believe, right? A mathematician talking about how long he would have been in this time loop, and I think it came out to a couple decades.
Yeah, it was about 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years of living the exact same day. Like, we're in our 40s right now, buddy. We're both 41 years old. So just that being the case, like, that would be like us being like, just like after 1 year old, just like, up to this point, finally getting out of that day. Like, shit. Because he's mastered playing the piano, he's mastered knowing everything about every single person in the town, all their situations, all their histories, ice sculpting, like, like tossing those cards and everything else, like that he was like just mastered. And like, as I think Indy McDowell even asked him, was like, "Oh, how'd you get so good at this?" And he just like mentions, like, if you practice X amount of times a day, like this amount of time, like for this long, like you get really good at it. Like, just felt like a little hint as to how long he's been doing this stuff. I think that's actually the greatest hint as to how long he's been doing that. Was just like the throwing the cards into the hat across the room.
Yeah, it comes down, the way he mastered a lot of these things. Is some experts chimed in and said, well, it would take this long to get to this level. And so, that's kind of a baseline of how long he's been there. And that starts out at, decades. And it's the idea that he didn't just master one thing, he mastered many things.
Yeah.
But, one thing we sort of glossed over was his numerous suicide attempts.
Oh yeah. What was it? Jumping off of a building, stealing the car with Positoni Phil in his lap, where he got bit by the Groundhog Day, by the Groundhog Day, bit by the Groundhog, filming that scene. Fiery car crash, escaping the cops. Yeah, go ahead.
The fiery car crash goes off the cliff. Larry and Rita are on the other side of the cliff, and Larry's like, maybe he's all right.
Oh, the car explodes. It's like, oh, maybe not.
if you really want to know how these two felt about him, as
They were
that
so
day began,
dismissive about his death.
they're just like, well, that was crazy. Film at 11.
But it's like then it goes back to like things like where he's just so fed up after everything. He's like, and this because that scene was where the movie is about progression, right? So it goes with
Yeah.
him abusing this loop and then abusing it further for his own self gratification. And then it turns into him just because at first it was him entertaining himself, right? And then self gratification, and then he's fed up with it.
He wants out.
He wants out. And then from there, like just like in the way he wants out, but it's like you can see his like stress levels. It's like Phil, it's Ned Ryerson, or like you see like little shots of this, and then you see that the one I mentioned earlier that it cracks me up every time. Phil, Ned, and he punches him and walks past him, but then it goes like it starts showing him as he can't find a way out. He starts going another route, which is giving everything he's got to everyone in the town. Over like however many loops, he gives everything of himself to everyone as much as he can. And so with like Ned Ryerson, he sells insurance, and he has an annoying ass pitch that from the first second that Phil sees him annoys the shit out of him.
Can I?
Oh, you can never have too much insurance. Am I right? 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 Right. Like just whatever. So
let me interject real quick.
Go ahead.
Remember the catalyst for him, switching from I want out to I can do good things is when he finally convinced Rita that he was stuck in this time loop.
Yeah. And then he fell asleep next to her, and he woke up, and it was the time loop again.
But before he fell asleep, she was telling him that, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't see this as a curse. Maybe this is your chance to do good things.
That's right. And the thing is, that's where Phil was actually falling in love with her too. At that point, like that's where I think that's actually like the point where he realized like he loves this woman, and so he takes her at her behest, and he goes about and he does that, right? Like that's where he starts really doing things, and like that's where you see him doing things. Where you see like the good that happens from him being selfless, and you see the bad, and not bad of being selfless, but you see the battles he can win through being selfless, and you see the battles he'll lose by being selfless, such as with the homeless guy, because it is in that stage of this movie where he is trying to save the homeless guy when he's like dying on the street. Another time where like, and the next shot is him in such a sad moment. It's so sad. Like I remember seeing this like a few weeks ago for the first time in years, and like I actually like teared up a little bit over this because in 1 second this guy's dying on the street, right? And the next second he's just sitting with him in a diner, giving him like a hot bowl of soup and some food and everything else, and just watching him eat, knowing this guy is going to die.
And I think it was the dinner that he came to the realization that there was nothing he could do except to make him comfortable.
And that's it. But it's like, and then from there, like he starts lifting people up around him. And he starts like really just like showing support, things that we should all do for each other just from the get-go. And this is where I fall short quite a few times. Personal life, professional life. I'm not as supportive of people as I would like to convince myself I am. I do my best. I'm an asshole. I do my best, but it is one of those things where it's just like we should all be supportive of each other. No ifs, ands, or buts. We should like be lifting each other up. And that, that is the whole point of this movie. We should all like he is just trying to lift people up, and it is finally at the end of the movie when he realizes that this is who he has this change of his character, and he realizes that he is more than he ever allowed himself to be, is when he goes into the next day. And that's where I agree with Harold Ramis, says like it, he should get past it, and then Rita has to repeat. So why would Rita have to suffer for anything like this? This movie, the whole point is it took this guy decades to change. Decades.
Yeah.
Like, damn, dude. Like, you think there's 52 days in a year. Like, this is like thousands, tens of thousands of days that he's had where he's like, oh, well, I'm just okay. And this is only weeks. If you this is only I'm sorry, yeah, what did I say? 52, I'm sorry, 52 weeks in a year, not 52 days. I'm sorry. 52 days. 52 weeks in a year. So but this movie starts off when Phil's already in his 40s and he's in love with, he's already set in his ways. After a certain age, we are all set in our ways. It takes a lot for us to really look inward and change things the older we get. That's something that's done more, as you're younger and you experience more things. But this guy already had 40 years ahead of him, 40 plus years ahead of him, where he's just this asshole, this self-indulging asshole, right?
Maybe it even amounted to having to live an entire lifetime sort of equal to what you've already had.
Possibly. That would be hell. Could you imagine waking up the same day, eventually waking up on the same day? But you've had to repeat the entire, it's just what we're seeing is the day he's waking up, which is on Groundhog Day, and that's where it's going to stop and reset to when he was whatever. But it's just it's one of those deals where it's just I
would love it.
Oh man, I wouldn't. There's some things I would not want to relive. But there's with this
finally play guitar.
Huh?
Said I would finally learn how to play guitar.
Well, when I come back that way, I'll teach you how to play. But it's it's one of those deals where it's just it's such an amazing storyline to the progression of this character growth that Bill Murray he portrayed this character so great, and Harold Ramis directed it immaculately.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I look at this as a flawless movie.
You want to talk about the writing real quick?
Yeah.
We brought up Rita. I think one of the best cheats when it comes to writing, two characters, not necessarily falling in love, but, coming to see eye to eye is what they did here, which is kind of making them even briefly co-conspirators.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the scene. Yes. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Where he not, because he tries to tell her about it earlier, and
I think it's a dinner scene,
to
right?
no avail.
Yeah, it was a dinner scene when he's going down every single person, and no one knew no one knew how he didn't know any of that stuff.
When he's finally able to prove to her, and she's in on it, where she buys into it, I think something like that. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, maybe it even works out in real life. Who knows? But when you have someone that believes you, and sort of therefore believes in you, that is the, I think, easiest, fastest way to show two characters connecting.
Yeah,
I agree. You don't even have to, because a lot of films, they say you got to put in the work, show the romance. It's sometimes it's as simple as, one person believes in another person, and the first person, appreciates it and feels seen. And that's what they did here. Phil finally felt like, I got through to somebody. Somebody else can know my truth.
Yeah, I agree with you. At his core, I'm sure Phil was a good guy. He's just a very, just how to get there. How to chip away at the years of just development that just buried that version of himself. And we all have that somewhere, some way. Mm-hmm. For the most part, I can't say all of us. There are some people that just are devout of it, devoid, completely void of that at all. But there, I'm just saying, we all have that version of ourselves when we're younger that just through growing and experiences and everything else, tragedies and triumphs and the trials and tribulations. It all like it's still there somewhere, but it's buried or built upon. But that building it's like building stairs. It's like building dual stairs that go into go upstairs into two different rooms. Right? Does it make sense? So it's like you either go like the good way or like the bad way, or like kind of like somewhere in the middle, to where you don't really go into any room. You just kind of like you exist. Like that's really it. But like with this, like I think it's awesome the way this movie did this. I think the movie, like the way that they wrote this character's development, the way that the way it was directed, and the way that Bill Murray acted with this character, where he just was someone that was forced into his predicament. And now we have this like now I guess now like the time loop is like a genre in movies these days.
Well, we're not ready to wrap this up yet and move on to its legacy.
I'm not wrapping it up. I'm just saying the way this movie did it, it was as I said earlier, it's masterful. I don't know how else to put it. So with Rita and Larry and all them, like they actually ended up being very good friends of his, and this all happened to these two characters over the course of one day.
Yeah.
For Phil, it was over the course of decades.
Yes.
Where he finally like just set his ego aside and stopped being such a prick about everything.
And that's the crux of everything, right? He did not have an outside sort of influence there was no outside catalyst to cause his change.
Yeah.
When he tried to do things because, oh, well, this is what, everybody wants me to do, so this is what I'm going to do, nothing changed. But once he actually felt within himself that, I don't even think he felt that he needed to change. He just started changing.
Yeah.
And once that happened, we got to, well, let's talk about the final day of the time loop.
Okay.
Where he, helps the old ladies with the flat tire. He saves people. He plays piano.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He does all this stuff over and over, and when they go to the gala, and the big Groundhog Day gala, it's the townspeople that keep approaching him and talking about all the good things he's done. He's no longer talking about himself doing the good things. It's the town that's talking about all of the great things he's done today. Yeah. And, that's when you know what? Fun fact in this scene, there is, remember the young couple?
Yes. Yeah.
And how we got them, what was it, tickets to WrestleMania?
I was going to say, like, the ones that were, like, engaged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Super fun, if you're into the sort of thing. Making his on-screen debut as an actor.
Okay.
Was none other than Zod himself, Michael Shannon.
Okay.
That
was him, wasn't it?
The groom.
The very first project, right?
Very first on-screen role.
Okay.
And he was the young groom. So yeah, how's that?
Yeah.
Told you I'd bring the facts.
I forgot all about that. I'm surprised you mentioned it by Zod compared to like all the other great roles he's done. But I guess, yeah, sure. We'll praise him for like a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, well, it's the only one people know him for.
Let's Go to Prison. Is that one of them? The Iceman?
Nope.
Wow. Boardwalk Empire?
The man will forever be Zod.
That man has been he was a great Zod. He was an amazing Zod. It's one thing Zack Snyder got right was Michael Shannon playing Zod.
Hey, I'm not saying
actually Henry Cavill did a great job as Superman too, but like my God.
Well, he did a great job as something, but it wasn't Superman. But we said we'd never talk about this again, so we're not going down that rabbit hole.
And stop bringing it up.
Okay, the guy from The Runaways.
There we go.
And World Trade Center.
And let's go to prison.
And
Boardwalk Empire.
Yes, the man has a filmography. And Bug.
Yeah, he's been in tons of shit. He's an amazing actor. You give him more than Zod.
I was just giving him.
You put some respect on that name.
Hey, Michael Shannon is a wonderful actor.
He is. Yeah, he's got those crazy ass eyes too.
If we're agreeing, why are we being so loud?
Because I'm passionate. He's more than Zod.
Hey, fair. Anyway, this culminates into an auction. That's right. They're selling people in Pennsylvania. Nothing good can come from that. And Rita buys Phil.
Yep.
He says that he loves her. And then when he wakes up, I got you, babe.
Yeah.
Except the DJs are like, oh, that song again. Because it's not Groundhog Day anymore. That's they live happily ever after until you play the sequel, which is a video game.
Is it a video game sequel?
Yes, it is. It's a VR game.
Okay.
I have it. I've never played it.
Okay. See, like, I'm so curious, like, well, like, what would they do with that one? It's like, be like, Rita wakes up now. It's like, oh my God, again? Like, there's really.
He hits her up with that Quagmire line. Why are you still here?
But it should just show, like, Bill Murray from that point, where she has to repeat the day, and he's on his next day, like, the day after, the day that comes after the day after Groundhog Day. And
February 3rd.
She got out, but she's worse now.
Say what?
I think it's hysterical. Like, if they were gonna like make like Rita like go through Groundhog Day, like had the polar opposite like effect of what happened to Bill Murray, where Bill Murray got better, and then Amy McDowell just got worse.
Where she has to learn how to loosen up and live a little.
Oh man, it's a great movie though. It's an amazing movie. I recommend anyone that if you've not seen Groundhog Day, I don't know how you have not seen it. I know there's plenty of people that have not. Not everyone's a movie buff, but Groundhog Day is one of those few movies that I will recommend to any person that ever asks, like, oh, is it a good movie? It's an amazing movie, one of my favorites.
And it holds up.
It's in my top three movies. It's one of my top 3 movies of all time. So it really is. I love that movie. I really do. So
now you started bringing up this a little bit earlier, the legacy of Groundhog Day. It has become sort of a genre unto itself. And sorry, Jen, time loop movies are not time travel movies.
Yeah,
they're not the same.
Is that what she thinks? No, you're not traveling through time. You're just repeating a day.
Right.
You're not going to the future. You're not going to the past. It's just a repeated day over and over again. It's not time travel. That says more a supernatural event or occurrence than anything else. Time travel is more scientific, usually. Wormholes or reaching 88 miles per hour, stuff like that, But
police boxes.
But
what
phone booths,
yeah.
Like
69 dudes. So what are your sort of favorite entries into this genre?
Time loops?
Yeah.
Groundhog Day, that's it. I cannot stand a lot of time loop movies. Well, there is one that came out with Frank. Oh God, what's his name? There was one that just it came out I think 2 years ago. Let me look this up really quick. I just watched it. Yeah, that's it. Yes, I really enjoy Boss Level with what's his name and Mel Gibson. I think that movie's hysterical. I think it's great. That Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. Listen, I'd love to have Whitney on our show. I think it's awesome that she worked in those movies. I really do. I love the costuming and all that stuff. I love the set design. I can't stand those two movies. They're okay. They're okay. They're just. I think there's a certain point where time loop movies lose their substance if you don't keep it going. It's like you have to keep stirring. It's like making something that you have to like. It's like making a soup or a broth. You have to keep stirring the pot. And some of these time loop movies kind of like just give up on that. They don't really do it. And then like Happy Death Day to You didn't really need a sequel, and the sequel was even more unbearable than the first one.
God, you're so mean for no reason.
I don't think that they're great movies. I enjoy them as like mindless things I can go see and like shut my brain off, but it's just like, well, it's whatever.
They were both done very well.
They
followed, well, the first one followed the time loop formula. The second was more of a time travel formula.
Nah, it's more of a time loop too. They're repeating the same day, just with technology.
Alternate reality.
They were, and yeah, but it's not time travel though. Like it's still, it was a movie. It was two movies.
Mm-hmm.
They exist. So I'm not dismissing their existence. Just dismissing what makes them worth watching. But it's one. I don't really like time loop movies. Groundhog Day and Boss Level are. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't know if it's a time. Well, it is a time loop. The Deaths of Ian Stone. It is a movie from like the mid 2000s. It's
you're nowhere near the mid 2000s.
Huh?
That would be like the year 2500.
What are you talking about?
The mid 2000s?
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. It's like it's 20 like 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, like shit like that. So it was like around 2005.
Those are the aughts.
But
aughts.
Okay, here's my one per episode. What the fuck ever. The thing is, it's still like
your one per episode.
Then fuck it. We're already past it now, so I might as well keep going. That's my 3 per episode, ladies and gentlemen. Here's The Deaths of Ian Stone is a movie that came out like I think like 2005, 2006. It was on IFC Midnight. It's got a great premise where a guy is always being killed every single day. He's repeating the same day. He's always dying. But it's more out of like a vampiric nature by some demons that have to make him repeat the same day to get certain reactions from him because they feed off of his pretty much like his energies. So it's an interesting movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I actually have to go back and watch it again. But aside from that, Boss Level and Groundhog Day, I don't really get behind these time loop movies. Like it's just I haven't really seen many that were done in a way that I'm like, oh, I'll have to. This has a rewatch factor. Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You don't really have much of a rewatch factor to me.
Well, I'll tell you what then. How about this? I'll give you Boss Level because that's a movie I enjoyed very much as well. But
this poor kid died how many times?
You can interrupt. You can. Is that how we're gonna do this? You can interrupt. Just interrupt me.
You gonna talk?
Is that what you're gonna do?
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Mommy and Daddy are fighting. What do you want, honey?
Okay. How about Edge of Tomorrow?
No.
No. What do you mean? No.
No.
That movie was done very well.
It's Tom Cruise.
So
can't do it.
Yeah.
The beautiful Miss Blunt was amazing, but Tom Cruise was intolerable as he is in everything else he's in. I will say the one thing he was not intolerable in was probably Jerry Maguire. Everything else I've seen him in, I just oh god, I would have hurt him so badly. Yeah, no. The premise is good. It's just Tom Cruise took me out of it.
I don't get you, man.
That don't get me either. It's okay.
Palm Springs.
Okay, that was okay. That's actually pretty good.
Love the fact that Andy Samberg just like
That was actually
someone
really
finally wrote it. He slept with everybody there, including the priest.
All right,
Because he
Palm
was there
Springs.
for a
Palm Springs
long
gets a
time.
pass. Palm Springs gets a really good pass but I think that like more makes fun of the time loop movies though.
It does have a meta aspect to it. And finally, we see somebody that doesn't have to go through a time loop alone.
I know. Oh, actually, there was one time loop. Well, God, it was on Netflix. There's a black guy that's always being killed by the same cop.
Yeah, that was
it's a short film. Huh?
See You Yesterday.
See You Yesterday. That is a movie that I like. It's a half hour, ladies and gentlemen. If you've not seen it, it's on Netflix. It's actually really, really good. It's a good movie. Unless you are a diehard back to blue kind of idiot that thinks that there's every cop's a good cop. There's a few bad apples and all that happy horse shit. No shit. There's a few bad apples, but this is a movie that touches on the bad apple cops. Just guy that's being killed every day for no reason, but you think that it's just him. And that one scene, you've seen it, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay, that drive that he like when he goes down and he talks to the cop and he tells the cop like this is all going to happen, like just plans, like tells him everything that's about to happen around him. The cop's like, oh my god, like how'd you know this? It was like I lived this day every day. I had been for a while now. This was going to happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull like I'm going to with my bag up. You're going to see cash. You can pull your gun out, and I'm going to get shot at some point, and blah blah blah. Like we don't need to repeat this pattern. I'm just trying to get home to my dog. And like the cop ends up relenting and giving him a ride home. They have a long conversation. They're both laughing and actually like finding some level ground with each other. And they get out, and this guy's about to walk into his house after God knows how many times they're repeating this day. You find out the cop's in on this thing too. Like he's having the same thing happen to him. It's a time loop, and he's just killing the guy every time just for funsies. He could probably just let the kid go, and the time loop would just stop, but every day he's just killed this kid for reasons.
Hold on, I think
see you tomorrow,
I
kid.
Gotten that wrong.
What?
I'm trying to do the research here. Was it? The obituary of Tunde Johnson.
What are you talking about?
The movie you're talking about.
No, let me look it up really quick. I was looking this up a few days ago.
Just See You Yesterday has a similar thing. That's a feature. Science prodigy uses her prowess and capabilities to create time machines in order to save her brother who's been killed by a police officer. As she tries to
that's not it.
She will eventually paste. Okay.
Wait a second, looking up right now.
This one. But I don't see like a runtime on this to tell me if this is what it is. But this one has about a Nigerian American teenager.
Two distant strangers.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
Okay, so an American short science fiction. Okay, examines the death of Black Americans during encounters with the police through the eyes of a character trapped in a time loop. It keeps ending with his death. Okay, so I have not seen this one. I do have it in my queue.
It is a very good movie. Okay, it's an amazing movie. It's about I think it's about a half hour, roughly 28 minutes, half hour, somewhere around there. But it's worth the watch. It really is.
I might throw it on when I'm working on my script.
Yeah, I recommend anyone watch this. I don't care what side of political field you're on, whether or if you're like Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter or Red Lives Matter, or like I never got one that says like, oh, healthcare lives matter. Like I never got that shit. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Well, like listen, I'm just waiting for that big old asteroid. But the thing is still
passed by tonight.
Yeah, that's not what I'm waiting on for it to pass by.
Oh,
Um,
you mean
think,
to show up on a
yeah, yeah,
doorstep?
yeah, think of like the Tool song, like Enema. That's what I'm waiting for. But either way, so
I got
yeah,
kids, man.
it's huh?
Said I got kids.
Yeah, yeah. You have kids. I've got a dog, and he's got like maybe like he's
So you
what, like
want your
he's
dog to
9.
die?
Well, he's got 9 years. He's 9 years old. He's got like maybe like 4 or 5 left tops. He's out of shape.
I'm gonna
Um,
have to get you a puppy dog.
no, no, no. Last time I told someone, I was like, "Oh, get a puppy." That's not what was fucking gotten. Oh, there's number 4. I'm disappointed in you too, Josh. So here's the thing.
The Map of
It's
Tiny Perfect Things is another time loop movie
never heard of
that I
it.
like. It's a teen rom-com. Also features 2 people going through a time loop.
Yeah, never heard of it. I'll check it out. What's it on?
Amazon or Hulu? I don't remember which. Okay. Amazon.
Well, when I pay either my Amazon or my Hulu or my Netflix or anything like that, I can actually get back into like watching those shows. Right now, I've got HBO Max running. That's a good thing. That's what I care about. I like HBO Max.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So
I have Paramount running mostly these days. Star Trek.
Yeah. I got Paramount too. I just got really Paramount and Peacock, but I got like the cheap versions of those ones. So I just watch HBO Max where I don't have to worry about ads, or I watch YouTube, like YouTube. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Like, I mean, I'm breaking down Groundhog Day. I've loved this movie. I've actually wanted to talk about it for a while, and being that it is in fact Groundhog Day today, it's kind of, as you said, it made sense to talk about it. So I've actually really enjoyed, hashing this one out.
Yeah, talked about the movie, talked about its legacy. I think we should do more things like this more often. Every few weeks, just celebrate a movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. But on that note, I think that this is about a good time to wrap it up, though, for the show, because I'm also really tired. It's been like a long week for me. I don't work.
I guess if that's what you want to do, then maybe you should let everybody know where to find you on the social medias.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, on Instagram, follow me, bjacksman1982. It is underneath my face down here, right down here, like right in that area. Just like type that in on Instagram. That'll put you to where I am. You can also follow me on Facebook. Just type in Brandon Junk and you'll find me. Now, as far as the WADcast, the one that I really want people to follow, I don't really care about people following me. It's not about me. Not about Josh over here. It's about the show. It's about our product, the WADcast. Go onto Instagram, go onto Facebook, go onto Threads. Just type in the WADcast. You'll see the you'll see this whole you'll see the logo that's up in the corner over here, where you can actually just hit follow. We'll keep you updated with everything we got going on. Facebook, we have reviews on Facebook. Written by Danielle, written by other people as well. We have plenty of stuff going on there. We have notifications about shows. We have our live shows that are posted on all of our Facebook feeds. So yeah, so if you miss anything, just go there, go into our albums and look at our videos. You'll see all the live videos of the WADcast dating back to before me and Josh even used cameras to film ourselves talk to each other. Josh, what the hell are you looking at? Hi, there you are. So that's where you can find it. That's where you can find me. Josh,
nothing.
Josh, what about you? Where can I find you?
Well, as always, you can go to WADcomedia.com to find all the latest and greatest information when it comes to Wadco Media. Actually, that's not true. But you can find all the links that take you to all the places that give you the latest and greatest about Wadco Media, including all of its wonderful podcasts like the WADcast that you can find here every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, or the wonderful 10 to 1 podcast that shows up when it shows up. So, yeah, it's been a little less than regular. It should definitely eat some more prunes. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is if you're interested in hearing voices that come from these mouths, those are the places to go to find out when and where you can do that. And we promise that there will be stuff. See? Promises. It's all about promises. In the meantime, speaking about the WADcast, the episode you're listening to right now is number 159. You know what? That means next week is episode number 160. Yes. Okay. Episode number 160. And next week, we are very proud to have a very special guest joining us, of which I will talk about now. Let's put up the graphic. February 9th, we are welcoming filmmaker Royce Freeman to the WADcast. Not only is he a very good filmmaker, he is also one of the nicest people you can ever meet. Next week, be sure to be here for that.
Okay. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's our next week's show, Royce Freeman. It's been great hanging out with you guys for another Friday. I'm looking forward to being available every Friday night from here on out, as opposed to what it's been like for us, like a month, I think. So yeah. But on that note, I've been up all day. I've been awake since yesterday afternoon. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Josh is going to close you guys out with his little Danny Tanner Full House final thoughts. And you guys have a great weekend. Josh, you have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.
All right. See you guys. Have a great night.
All right, kids. Now it's just us. He's gone. That means I can be positive. And of course, that's what I'm going to do, because each and every week we have the same message for you at the end of every show. And it goes as such. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If you want to be a creator, then the most important thing you have to remember to do is to start doing it. If you're a writer, if you want to be a writer, start writing. Really, that's all it takes. You don't need training. You don't need to spend hundreds, thousands of dollars up front. Just start writing. See where it takes you. Hone your skill, hone your craft, but keep doing it. And the only way to start doing it is to start doing it. If you want to be a director, take that little thing in your pocket. No, not that thing, the phone, and start shooting stuff with your camera. Start doing it. The only way to become a master of anything is to do it over and over and over again. So you got to start doing it. I'm usually a little more eloquent when it comes to the final message, but just remember, you don't need permission to create. You just need to do it. And you're the only one that's stopping him. That's it. That's the message. So get out there, get creating, and remember, the WADcast is here for you every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And we look forward to seeing you here next week with Royce. And I hope you all have a fun, enjoyable, happy something or other.